driving lesson afterwards.
You're not still taking lessons?
Yes, I'm getting on quite well. I've had 14 so far.
But look here, are you quite sure it's perfectly all right? I mean, I don't wish to interfere at all, but you do understand...
Mind your fingers, Reverend.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you and welcome. Now, I was figuring out today that I've done about 12,000 interviews for Midday, about 12,000. I talk to people. They always want to know who was the best. Well, of course, that's impossible. But there is a top shelf that includes people like Paul Hogan, Tom Cruise, Robin Williams, Jane Fonda, Peter Ustinov, Sylvester Stallone, right through to that wonderful environmentalist David Suzuki. But always the name Michael Crawford comes up. He is probably the most popular of the lot. He certainly has the most devoted and wide-ranging group of fans, I think, of anyone we've spoken to. Women, men and children. He has delighted audiences on stage and screen from Frank Spencer right on through to the Phantom, of course. Last year, Michael Crawford sold out his concert tour here, and also his album was #1 for a long, long time. Now, he promised Australia that he would come back when he had some new songs. Well, tonight, he keeps that promise. Would you please welcome Mr. Michael Crawford.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome home. We thank you for the time and tonight. There are some Australians, of course, who only know you as Frank Spencer. And there are some Australians who only know you as the Phantom. Which one are you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's got to be a bit of both in you. I like to work in a way that stuff comes from me, from inside me.
But were you actually that much of a klutz?
No, no. I mean, what
Excuse the French.
I mean, being born just after the very end of the war, I used to read a lot of books like Cold It Story, and everything was about the end of the war, and it was kind of heroic at that point. Not that there was anything, you know, but it was. We read those kind of books, so I was forever tunneling, and I used to dig under the house, and we had to leave 3 houses because they collapsed. Tunneling. So stupid.
So you used to redecorate the house like that?
Yes. Well, I did build a shed like that. That's what used to give me these ideas, and then you very cleverly do it so that it collapses on purpose. Mine used to collapse by accident.
But that was so long ago. That was when you were a young bloke. I mean, you wouldn't be a klutz now. You wouldn't do anything like that now, these days, would you?
Well, you do, but it's not. You see, not everyone will admit that they do things, and I'm stupid enough to admit that. You travel long distance on an aircraft. Now, this happened on my last visit to Australia. Purely accidentally, you go to sleep, and I was lucky enough, I was in first class, so you had these great wide chairs, and the leg thing comes up after about 25. You're trying to look casual as though you travel first class all your life, and you press a button, and suddenly your legs shoot up in the air, and then the back goes back, and the guy's dinner goes all over him behind. And you just, okay? And no one speaks to anyone. So I settle down for the night, and I put my eye, and I'm next to this older lady who hasn't spoken, and I haven't spoken. You know,
much older?
Quite, yes. I mean, you know, she's quite a bit older, yes. So, no, I like older women, but I mean, she was. So I'm lying there, and I go to sleep, and I've got the eye thing on and the earplugs in, and I can still hear this woman's headset. She's left it plugged in, so there's this music playing, and it's driving you nuts. It's like a gnat somewhere, and you want to swat it. So the lights all go out in the cabin, and I put my hand gently over to try and pull her plug out. And I could feel her. I just felt her move, and my hand is now trapped down the side of her thigh. And I had to give up. I just coughed and pulled my hand out, and then, and then I mean, what the hell that would do, I don't know, but I coughed. And I lay there, and then an hour later, I'd fallen asleep. I woke up, and I thought, I've got to go to the bathroom. I've got to go to the bathroom, because all I drink is, I'm drinking water on a flight. So I creep up, and I can't find the button to put the thing down. So I've got my legs astride the footrest, and as I went like this, I got up, and there's a guy lying in front of me with his head here. So I get up there, my trousers burst. The front of my trousers. I had no belt on, so my trouser button flew onto this guy's chest. Now, I'm standing there with a mask up to here, earplugs sticking out my ear. My headset's still connected, by the way, and I'm sort of trying to get that off without making... And it's pitch black, and I'm creeping down this guy's chest to go. And he opened his eyes, just as... And I said, it's all right, it's all right. Just getting my fly button back. I took my fly button. My pants are now open. And I'm trying to pull them, because you do swell up a little when you fly, you see, so well, so to speak. I mean, I've got my trousers open. So now I've got to maneuver across this woman who's flat out. So I go, and you know you can't because there's another man there. So I get over. I go over her, and I'm like this, and she wakes up. And I stand. I've got my trousers open, right? And she's there, and I'm going, it's all right, it's all right. And she's going, I said, just going to the bathroom. I said, so I'm holding myself in, I get over, so I'm walking now down the aisle, and other people are now waking up and looking at this man holding his parts, walking into the thing. I then had to find, I mean, this goes on. I had to find a needle and cotton from and they're all asleep, and I'm sort of banging on curtains saying, have you got a needle and cotton? And they're all going... So in answer to your question, no, those things don't happen to me.
It would seem that the series with Frank Spencer has become such a part of our comedy vernacular almost, and yet there are only 16 or 17 episodes of that. It seems like there are dozens, but there are only a few.
No, we did, yes, it's just like a bad relative, yes. We did 18, and it keeps coming back, and we did 3 Christmas shows.
And you did all the stunts? I mean, you weren't concerned about, I guess you were young and fit and healthy and silly.
Yes, I suppose I was. I mean, I used to do, because I'd write them. I'd write the stunts. I mean, it was a series that originally was offered to Norman Wisdom.
Right.
And then it was offered to Ronnie Barker, and they both turned it down.
Silly boys.
And I was the last choice for Phantom as well. So really, I've been the last choice for everything. I mean, my mother didn't want a child, but you know.
Liverpool, because 20% off is a huge saving, whichever way you look at it.
So is that from experience?
Yes. Yes, I thought I'd be a good husband, go along to the antenatal class, but I mean, I was the only man there, because in those days, people didn't go, men didn't go to these things, and they didn't go to births much. I mean, they were few and far between, so we weren't trusted, and we weren't welcomed, really. So, but I thought, you know, these prices, that we should be allowed in, you know, so, and we didn't. And still the same applies. But the first one, Emma, I couldn't go because she was Gabrielle was, and she was 70 hours in labour or something, and that costs a fortune. So I kept taking her out into the car park. I said, look, if you're not going to do it, I said, we can't afford the room. I said, so we used to sit in the car park all day waiting, having sandwiches, waiting for them to get closer together, because I had stopwatches and watches on the clock, you know, in the car, and alarm clocks. So we slept in the car park of the hospital, and then we got her inside finally, and Emma was born. But that Lucy, I was allowed in, and because it was a different doctor, he hadn't experienced me. So I got inside, and he said, all right, Mr. Crawford, if you wouldn't mind, stand alongside. He said, please hold your wife. And he's down, you know, the sharp end, and I'm up the side, and I said, so I held her knee, and he said, not her knee, Mr. Crawford, hold her hand. And I said, oh, sorry, well, you didn't say what I should hold. I said, I felt sort of foolish. I said, I hold her hand. So I held her hand, and he's saying, all right, Mrs. Crawford, now push. So I'm going, push, push. I said, push, push. I said, we're nearly there, we're nearly there. And they keep looking up, going, would you be quiet, Mr. Crawford? I said, I'm just trying to encourage her. I said, because, she wants to know I'm here. He said, oh, we all know you're here, Mr. Crawford. So then it gets nearer, and I get up on the bed. I'm now kneeling on the bed, and he's going, please, Mr. Crawford, get down. But he's got hold of the baby. The baby's just beginning to come, and I wanted a better view. I saw nothing up there. I mean, he's got a front row seat, and I'm the father, back here. And so I'm over, and I'm going, it's coming, it's coming. I said, it's coming, and I picked her up, and she's now in two. And she's saying, oh, my God. I said, no, you've got to look. I said, and he said, put her down, put her down. And he's dropping the baby, and he pulls her out. And I said, it's a boy, it's a boy, it's a boy. He said, it's a girl, Mr. Crawford, it's a girl. I said, well, what's that? He said, the umbilical cord. But again, you could easily mistake it. I mean, it was this thing. I mean, you're so close at that age, aren't you? But it was getting longer and longer and longer. It takes after his father, and he.
I read a story, it may not be true, the story about where you tried to hire a boat on one occasion, they weren't going to rent it to you because of Frank Spencer.
No, that's right. That was only last year when I was.
Was it?
Yes. I mean,
sorry.
And I said, wait a minute, look, I've done this since then, slowly, gently. But no, he wouldn't have any of it. It was down in Bournemouth, our first British date last summer, and I said, I'd like to hire a boat. He said, sir, no, sir, sorry, we don't have anything available at the moment. And you could see on his face that he was frightened. I said, well, I said, I won't do any harm to it. No, of course you won't, sir. He said, no. You've been a favourite in our family for years. He said,
but you're not getting the boat.
No, you're not getting the boat. So in the end, I talked him into it, and we ran aground. That's true. I didn't know you knew that. No. Not a lot of people know that one.
Let me go on then. Let me have a look at this clip and we'll comment about it. Just have a look at the circus performance.
Fires glow, flags streaming, spires grow, towers gleaming, in a land where the dawn is clear, in a sky where the sun's forever, on a plain where it's spring all year, darker the night comes never, somewhere out there, just out of sight, there's a world that's shining with light. Ain't man alive got the right? Come on, come on.
Yes, you relived that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How many times did you do that for the film, Barnum?
For the film, that actual film, about 4 times. And they said I'd done it 1,400 times. I played the show 1,400 performances. And they said, we're going to take the wire up another 3 feet for the video.
Which
so
is what, about as high as this room?
It's where this monitor is, yes.
Okay.
It's kind of there. And no net, so, because it didn't suit me. So I said, they said, do you need anything underneath? I said, no, I'll be okay. I said, oh, I should be. 1,400 shows, I should be able to do it by now. What? So got out there, took 1 step, and I fell straight up. I missed it completely. And what you must do is hang on. As you fall, you hang on to the wires so that you take the skin off your hand, but at least your head doesn't break in two. But in the 1,400 shows, I fell off about 8 times in the 1,400 shows. How do
you so a live show, there's the audience out there in the theatre, you've now fallen. How do you cover that? Do you ad-lib your way out of that?
No,
or just cry?
No, the circus often they'll fall on purpose to do a trick again so that it builds the tension with an audience. And they go, boy, and you start to worry that he's going to do it. Well, I used to worry before I fell that if I fell, I'd get back up and fall again. Well, what do you do then? I mean, you know, read the Lord's Prayer then. I mean, you're out of there.
But you
There's
look
no
like
chance.
a circus performer. Look like a trained circus performer in that and the trampoline sequences.
Well, I went to circus school in New York, and I trained. And the hardest trick, this is it. This is the hardest trick in the show. There, just to go up, to run across the stage. It was right at the beginning of the show, so you're not as warmed up as you think you may be. This stuff was just great fun, and you.
The trampoline one doesn't look
you
like.
see, all this is skills you've got to learn, and they take a lot of patience and a lot of time. Children join the circus at the age of 4, so I was training with these 4-year-old little black kids down in Harlem. And they were all, I was their uncle, you know, this stupid white uncle they had who couldn't do anything. I mean, I was learning to do the unicycle. I mean, that, in fact, nearly ended a good part of my life that I, you know, I used to enjoy, yes. No, it enhanced my singing career in the upper register. But
So when did you change the name? When did you become Michael Crawford?
I became Michael Crawford when I did a few jobs, and then at 15 I left school, because in those days you could, and I wasn't, you know, I was studying to be a brain surgeon at the time. And did you say something?
No.
And I didn't think I'd really get there, so I wanted to go in the Air Force, and I wanted to fly, but I really didn't academically have it, so as they say. Because as soon as I started when I was 15, seriously acting, I mean, I was doing about 4 radio shows a day, and there was another Michael Ingram, so that was my stepfather's name, so that was the name I had acquired. And I was born Michael Patrick Dumbbell Smith, so I soon got rid of that, you know.
But Dumbbell Smith.
Yes. All right, you don't have to repeat it, okay? Said it once. And then I just, they said, you've got to change your name. So I literally looked at this, I looked at a van going by, a biscuit van, and it said Crawford's Biscuits, and I thought, that looks quite nice, so I chose Crawford. But little did I know it would take me years to get my name in lights, because there were so many damn light bulbs in Crawford. It's a long name.
We'll have more of Michael Crawford right after this.
But she's a chance to make your dreams come true, to have someone who thinks there's nothing you can't do, a chance to live each day and care the way you always knew you could.
Latino Fresh, the pasta and salsas you used to go out for.
Close your eyes, start a journey to a strange new world. Leave all thoughts of the world you knew before. Close your eyes and let music set you free.
Only then can you belong to me.
How did you get that role? I've never heard you explain how you got the role in Phantom.
Well, I was having this singing lesson one day, and Andrew arrived about half an hour early with his then wife Sarah Brightman, and they came in.
That's Sir Andrew Lloyd.
Sir Andrew, sorry, yes, sorry, Sir Andrew. And he came in early, and they went downstairs, had a cup of tea. So I'm singing right over his head. I didn't know he was there, and I'm singing this aria, Caro Selve, and because that's what I would do. I've been singing these Italian arias for about 12 years, because that's what my teacher would want me to do, but never publicly. So only sort of hardcore neighbors had stuck this out, and there I was singing away, and cats were jumping out of windows, glass was shattering in the street, and Andrew sitting downstairs drinking this cup of tea, wondering what the hell was going on upstairs. And at the end of the lesson, I left, and he came upstairs and said to Ian, my teacher, who was that? And Ian said, it was Michael Crawford. And he said, I think we may have found our Phantom.
Really?
And it was just a
luck of the-
stroke of luck. I mean, I think he'd seen so many people. I think his chauffeur was next in line before me. And his hairdresser, you know, I was the very last choice.
Did he change it at all for you? Was the script or the change for you?
No, in no way.
Okay.
No. I mean, if he wrote it for anyone, it was for Sarah. And then when I started to sing, when he first played me the music sometime later, the hair on the back of my head stood up on end, and I stood listening to it, and I turned to look at him, and that's how I stood as the Phantom.
Yes.
It's like something very strange. It's the music went into my body, and I felt I could feel that man living.
But I had letters this week when we announced that we were going to do the special from fans, devoted fans of yours, who still scratch their head and can't reconcile Frank Spencer with Eric the Phantom. Can you reconcile that? Can you?
Well, you see, you grow up. I mean, we all grow up and we change. It's when we're in the public eye, you'll do things that will amaze people in a certain way, that you're very physical. And it's like the ugly duckling grows up and suddenly becomes a swan. So you see the girl that used to live next door, and suddenly you go back after 2 years and you look at her and think, wow.
But you had the option of doing 5 years of Some Others in America, and you knocked that back.
Yes, I did, because I didn't feel that I could be funny for 5 years. You know, to get out of bed and stick a raincoat and a beret on every morning, you know, and I think it could become a worrying experience. So yes, I did want to put that to bed in the end.
But you mentioned your grandma going along. She's a critical factor in your whole life, isn't she?
Yes. My grandmother was the one that told me I should sing. And I said, but Nan, you know, I'm making people laugh. Don't you laugh? She loved Some Others. She just used to sit there, and she was proud. The neighbours, suddenly, you know, all the neighbours were knocking on her door. She was never lonely. And mind you, then I did a series after that called Chalk and Cheese, which I think came out here for a brief stay. And I grew a beard and played this really rough guy. And she said, I'm sorry, but I don't know why you did this. I don't see anything funny in it, and I can't watch it. And we'd sit there watching television, like sitting there like that, and she'd be in front of the television to the side facing me. And she wouldn't look at the program. So you've got friends around watching the television, and she's just sitting there going... for half an hour. She's a very strong-minded lady. But she was right. It ran for 7 episodes, and that was the end of that. But when she came to the theatre, I was doing Billy at Drury Lane Theatre. And I have this fantasy sequence in Billy Liar. It's enormous theatre, great history. And I'm standing there, and my family run on and with machine guns in a fantasy sequence, and they all machine gun me. And I suddenly wake up and say, oh, piss off the lot of you. Right? And I suddenly hear from the royal box, Michael, Michael, I've never heard you use language like that in my life. If your mother was alive to hear this, and I'm sitting there, I'm in the middle of this show, and all the guys with machine guns are all going, and I'm going, I'm dying.
And there's Granny.
And there's Granny up in the royal box, and she got a round of applause. And she said, thank you, and sat down. You never knew.
Did she ever come again?
Oh, yes. I mean, I couldn't keep her away. This time her sight was going. So, but her hearing was just fine. So, and she sat, it was a play called Flowers for Algernon, which was done as a movie called Charlie with Cliff Robertson about a mentally handicapped man and a mouse. And the mouse was turned into a genius by these injections, and it's a long scientific process, and the man then follows. And then slowly he regresses and ends up back where he started as a seriously mentally handicapped man. It's a beautiful story and very tender. And in the middle of the building becoming a genius, there's no orchestra, the orchestra's behind, and I'm right down on the edge of the stage singing to Cheryl Kennedy, my leading lady, and right there in the front row is Nan. And I can feel, I know she's there. She's just sitting, looking up adoringly. I can feel it. I just can feel it. I didn't need to look. And I have to sing War and Peace, a synopsis of War and Peace and Gulliver's Travels in 6 minutes. This is the hardest number I've ever sung and ever will have to sing, most probably. So I start it, and I sing, and I sing, and I sing, and Natala and Noah and Natasha and this and da 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 da. I finish the song, And this long note goes on and on and on, and the band keep going, and I hold it until I run out of breath, 45 seconds. And then my next line to Cheryl is, "Did I do good?" And I heard, "You did wonderfully, darling. You were wonderful." See? But it's not going to run. All in the middle of the show. And we came off in 6 weeks.
She was right again.
Amazing lady. And right up to the end when she went, the last thing she said to me was, no matter what I said about playing comedy or anything, she says, "You have to sing. You have a lovely voice."
Can't go on. Everything I had is gone. Stormy weather. Since my gal and I ain't together. Keeps raining all the time. Keeps raining all the time.
Starlight gets it right.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. Where does your ex-wife fit into that?
No, well, I had, that was, I'll preface this story. I mean, Gabrielle is now my dearest friend. I mean, she's a great, great pal of mine. So anyway, when it happened, I apparently spent too much time at football matches, and I was, you know, when I was working and stuff like this, so I used to encourage her like crazy. I said, "Look, why don't you come to the football matches with me? You'll enjoy it." "I don't want to go to football, okay? Okay?" You know, so I said, "Well, but you really, I don't want to go to football." So I said, "All right, but there's the cup final." I said, "The cup final is really great." I said, "You'd love the cup final," because I said, "You know, it's really exciting, you know." So I do not want to go to the cup final. So in the end, I got her to the cup final. She quite enjoyed it. See, so I said, "You see?" And I thought, maybe, you know, we're going to sort of reconcile. It'll be okay. We'll be all right. So I get taken out. So I took her every week to the football now. So she used to come to the football with me. So we weren't apart as much as she'd been complaining we had been. So now she complained a bit more because we were together too much. And so I took her to the football for about 3 months, and she enjoyed it so much, she ran off with the centre forward for the team.
Did she marry him?
Yeah, no, she didn't get married, but I mean, they were together for many years. I mean, she had 2 sons, so it was a serious relationship. So it was just great. I'm really glad I took her to the football. And so I used to get, the thing was, but again, with anyone who's had this sort of thing happen to them, it's very funny 15 years later. And I used to get the girls every weekend. So I went and
Your 2
lived...
daughters?
My 2 daughters. So I used to, they were about 8 and 9. So I never, ever, we were very good about never involving them in any bigger way than we had to, if you can understand that. You didn't discuss it with them and make it a big deal, that how unhappy, you know, or anything. So I used to invite them up to the country, and I cook them Sunday lunch, and I was into growing everything for myself. I had a year where I was, you know, completely... So, you know, and they're sitting there eating, and this is where I used to get stuff for some mothers, because Lucy would go... Daddy, what was that? And I say, "It's good for you. Just eat it up, Luce. You'll love it. You'll love it." And then I see her leg go. And that was Emma kicking her to say it again because, you know, she wasn't the brave one. So Lucy did all these looks. She'd smile at you and try that. That didn't work, so she'd look at you like that. And then she'd try the bottom lip, which she'd try, and none of that would work. So in the end, I said...
What was it you were giving it?
It was very good for them. It was full of iron, but they were nettles.
What was it?
They were nettles. See?
Nettles?
Boiled nettles, yes. They were good. They were the soft, they were the little leaves at the top.
Like
Very good.
stinging nettles?
Yes, yes, but the sting goes out of it. You don't get any... They were great. They were a little tough, but they were good. But the spinach hadn't come on, so I had to, you know, I had to give them nettles. So they went home that night, and went home. Within an hour of them having left the house, the phone went. Hello? I hear you've been feeding the girls nettles. That's the last you're seeing of them for a month. Okay, okay? So I didn't see the girls for a month. So the next time I saw them, this used to happen all the time. So, you know, you write these things down. The next time I took them, I said, I've got a surprise for you girls. We're going to go flying. I said, oh, great, Daddy.
You have a license?
No, I didn't have a license then. No, I wasn't going to fly the plane. I had another friend of mine was going to fly the plane, and I was going to sit next to him looking as though I knew everything that was going on, you know, to impress the girls and make it look so when they went back, they'd tell their mother and say, he's flying planes now, and she'd go, she'd be jealous, you know? So a man has it all figured out, you know? So I get them out of bed at 8 o'clock in the morning, you know, on a Sunday, and youngsters really like that. They love getting up at 8 on a Sunday morning. So I've got this shot of them next to a plane, and of me with my arms around them both before they go flying, and their eyes are like, you know, it's like, really good. So I said, okay, come on, let's get in. I turned round, walked straight into the wing. This was the first step. So we got into the plane, blood pouring out of my head. We get in. We flew over London, about 1,000 feet above Buckingham Palace, had the most incredible time. I mean, went down the Mall, Regent Street, over Fulham, Wimbledon, everywhere, and the girls adored it. Got home, went back, the girls went home that evening. An hour later, the phone goes. They go in, they say, first, this is how it happened. They walked in to say to them, oh, we had a great day, Mummy. See, you were out. She said, what? She said, see, you were out. I said, how do you know I was out? He said, well, the car wasn't out there. How do you know the car wasn't out there? We flew overhead at about 2 o'clock. You took the kids flying, okay? Right, that's 4 weeks. I'm calling my lawyer tomorrow. And I didn't get, and the final one, I'll bore you with. This cuts everything. I said, right, what would you like me to feed them? How would you like me to drive them around? And what would you like me to drive? I'll send their clothes with them. I'll send their clothes with them and the food in the case so that you know what to do with them. I said, okay. So I get their clothes, and I'm going to the opening night of Oliver. So there's a friend of mine, Susan George. She's there. So I said, Susan, could you just stand over there? Because I don't want to get seen in the paper the next day with Susan George and my 2 daughters. So I said, Susan, just stand a bit to the left, can you, while we're being photographed? So I got the 2 girls, and the Daily Express takes this photograph, and the next day, the girls are in the newspaper. And that evening, right, she's on the phone. So I said, yes. I said, did you like? She said, who dressed them? I said, I dressed them. I said, I dressed them with the clothes. Did you just take a look at the paper, could you? I said, yes, I got it right here. I said, I'm going to frame it because I'm really proud of the girls. So she said, look at Lucy. I said, yes, I'm looking. She said, can you see anything strange? I said, well, she said, can you see through? I said, oh, yes, I can see the wall behind. I said, yes, it's a see-through. She said, it's not a see-through. That's her nightie.
But never wonder where I am, 'cause I am always by your side, 'cause you are my lady, and I am your man. Whenever you reach for me, I'll do all that I can.
Great stuff. Now, we filmed that with Michael in Los Angeles when you were putting the album down on those.
Yes.
How many did you... There's only 12 on here, unfortunately. How many did you choose from? 12 out of what?
13. Oh, I see, when I first started. I'm sorry, 200.
200 songs?
Yeah. So the songs, what we did was when we went into the studio finally with the 13 songs, all these, and that one there that you saw, they were just put down with a piano. The vocal was put down with a piano, bass, and drums. And then we built this great arrangement up around whatever was needed. So the very sensitive songs were just done, and we found, like there's a song, one of my best friends, which Tim Rice wrote for me, there's a violin that accompanies that, and that's the kind of spirit of the song. So that goes with you. Stormy Weather has a harmonica in the middle, which is beautifully soft and
But there's a story
romantic.
to that too, isn't there? The Stormy
Well,
Weather.
things like when we were trying to find the songs, Arif would say, "All right, my friend, now he's Turkish." So, and
Perfect
you all,
Turkish
they all
accent.
recognise that Turkish accent. So I said, he said, "All right, my friend," he said, "you know, sing. Let us try Stormy Weather. Take one." So I go, "Don't know why there's no..." He said, "No, no, no. Hello, hello." He said, "No. Billy Eckstein, we have." He said, "Sarah Vaughan, not available." He said, "You sing it. You sing it to me." So I said, "Okay, I see what you mean." You know how we do in the shower? We go in and we're going, "You ain't nothing but a hound dog." And I say, "Hey, that's good." You know, and if anyone opened the door, you say, "No, not so good." And it's rubbish.
So give me a line of the difference between Billy Eckstein and Michael Crawford.
Well, when we started, I would just go, "Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky, stormy weather." So it was you singing it to someone in there. Oh, no.
Why don't we hear the album?
But it was that intimacy. You sing, it must be that you're singing into someone's ear. It has to be so that when couples listen to it, you feel warm.
Is that what you do? I mean, the shots we saw at the microphone, do you sing it to an imaginary person?
Music is a very emotional thing for us all. Whether it makes us cry, it'll make us laugh, but it has an enormous influence. So when I hear a beautiful string behind me or a wonderful piano, as I sing, I can't believe I'm doing it anyway. So it sets me, I just get a grin on my face, and I finish the song, and there are tears running down my face. So
Really?
I don't know what emotions are going through me, but it's just a wonderful feeling.
You've told the story about the second track, which is the one with the duet with Patti LaBelle before, but it's such a lovely story. Tell us again how you managed to get someone as exquisite as her.
Well, they're two great ladies. I mean, Barbara Streisand,
Right.
who it sort of ran that we went from Hello Dolly 25 years later. She, you know, we actually were still friends, and she asked me to sing now that she knew I could sing.
25 years later.
Yes, I mean, she used to pay the studio 25 years ago to have a day off when I came in to sing. So I thought of Patti LaBelle, who's an outrageous woman. I mean, she's known in America as a big soul diva. I mean, she's got a lot of chutzpah. I mean, she's a very over-the-top black lady. So we're in Philadelphia, where she lives, these big studios. I go in there early to get my track down so that I can see what I sound like singing this song, because it's a new kind of sound for me to make. It's easier than those songs. So I get in there, a shirt's open, and they've got shots of this. I mean, my shirt's open, you know, sweat's pouring off me. I sing the thing, the door opens, and in walks this incredible-looking woman with her hair up to here, and the earrings and the necklace and eyelashes like out to there, and she walks in and she looks at me, and I'm standing there with my shirt open and my fly open going, "Oh, hi, Miss LaBelle," you know, and I've been hard work this morning. She said, "You are Michael Crawford?" I said, yes, sorry about that." I said, "It won't happen again," you know. So she said, now, she said, "You come from Erie, Pennsylvania, I believe." And I said, No, I come from Wapping in London." She said, "No, you come from Erie, just down the road here in Pennsylvania. You just come down the road." I said, "No, I don't. I'm from Wapping." And I swear, she thought I was Ben Vereen, another singer. And she'd agreed to do this because she thought I was a black soul singer. And there's this guy standing in front of her going, "No."
From Wapping.
Right.
We'll have more of Michael Crawford right after this.
You never recognize the room different frames now, and all the chairs are rearranged now. Somehow I've thrown out every souvenir. Yes, there've been changes made since you stayed here. You'd never recognize the street. The neighbors' kids play different games now. The colors in the trees have changed now. Strange how I've hardly thought of you this year. Yes, there've been changes made since you stayed here. The same address, well, more or less. More happens, less matters, I guess. You'd never recognize my life. The party givers know my name now. And when I cry, it's not the same now. Somehow I never waste a single tear. Yes, there've been changes made since you stayed here. When I cry, it's not the same now. Somehow I never waste a single tear. Yes, there've been changes made since you stayed here. You'd never recognize the room. You'd never recognize the room.
Well, that's it for tonight. If you'd like us to send you more information on any of the stories on the show, remember our information sheet line. All you need to do is either call us on 0055 22928 or write to us at Post Office Box 50, Willoughby, New South Wales 2068, enclosing a large stamped self-addressed envelope. And just a reminder of our American Express Ultimate Getaway to the USA competition. If you think you know the answers to the 2 questions on tonight's show, the number is 0055 60223. And if you missed the questions, you can always catch them in this week's Who Weekly magazine or last Saturday's Australian magazine. Now, next Thursday, we'll have another 2 questions and another chance to win that ultimate $20,000 trip to America. Also, I'll bring you here to the beautiful Capricorn Coast in Queensland. Anna plies the waters of the Southern Ocean in a brand new cruise liner, and David takes to the skies for the latest form of aerial tourism. That's all next week. Don't forget to join us then.
This program was proudly sponsored by the Holden Apollo. There's nothing quite like a Holden. And Telecom Australia.